Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with our post-race media availabilities. We are joined by Casey Mears, who's raced his way into the Daytona 500. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. We'll start with Holly up front and then go over to Matt.
Thank you. Congratulations, Casey. Holly Kane with the NASCAR Wire Service. Obviously, the way you're feeling now is not how you were feeling after the incident on pit road. If you could just talk about the range of emotions and how you obviously felt you had to get out there. Were you feeling like there was still a chance toward the end there?
Yeah, I know. One thing that, I was worried when we got stuck. I was worried about going 2 laps down. I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't come to pit road a lot in the last few years. So I come in obviously a little bit too hot. Looked up, I locked the rears up, and that's what kind of caused that. But the biggest thing I was worried about is going 2 down, right? Because you always, in my mind, I always feel like there's a good possibility of a late race caution at this track. And I knew that if we were 1 down, we'd still have some kind of chance. So, I mean, I actually got on the radio and just asked all the guys to stay calm, and said, hey, we still got a shot here. But for sure, when we were sitting in the grass, that wasn't pretty. But I just can't believe it. I mean, after all that, to come back and, be sitting in position to go race the Daytona 500 on Sunday. I mean, pretty much the whole race, I was thinking that was out of our grasp. And, there was a lot of prayers said for sure, just for opportunity, and it opened up and we took advantage of it. So just super happy to be here.
All right, we'll come up here to Matt.
Matt Weaver, motorsport.com. I imagine it's really easy to go through a different range of emotions even before the race starts. Because on one hand, this is a knife to a gunfight situation. And then you find yourself on the front stretch doing burnouts. I'm curious, is this the reason to justify, yeah, we're going to do this? Because even though the odds are against us, anything can happen?
I think that when it comes to the super speedways and places like Daytona, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you throughout my career, I've been with some of the best teams and I've been with some of the smallest programs. And nothing surprises me here. You come here sometimes with a big team and think that you've done everything right in the offseason. You qualify 25th, and I came here with a really small team in 2019, and we locked our way in the show on speed. So this is just one of those places where there's enough random things that happen and stuff that happens that's out of your control. And sometimes you're on the right side of it, and sometimes you're not. And fortunately today we were on the right side. And it was a big range of emotion, but the one thing that's interesting about this time around is that, this is all a bonus round for me. My career pretty much, had an end back in 2017, 2018. And to come back and just have the opportunity to come do this again is a big deal. And so I'm kind of soaking it in and enjoying every moment, just being here the 2 days before. But, now to be on this side of it and deliver for, Carl Long and all those guys. I mean, I got to tell you something about Carl Long, and a lot of people don't know. A lot of people in this room do, but that guy absolutely works harder than anybody in the garage. And he is smart about how he does what he does. And, we knew we were going to come here and struggle and have a hard time. But, I appreciate everything that he put into this to get it here. And the one other thing I really want to say, and a lot of people might not know this, but Bob Germain was, my team owner when I drove the Geico car. And, when he saw me run at Martinsville and I kind of announced that I had the goal of making 500 starts, he was the first guy to call. And he said, I want to help. And he gave me a way bigger number to help than I thought he was going to. So that got me for a minute. But I really appreciate what he does. But I wanted all you guys to know that he's the real guy behind all this.
And then lost my train of thought. That was a really good answer. Is the plan, I guess, for Sunday then kind of the same as today, where it's house money, stay in the draft, and then, like you said, random things happen in super speedway races?
Yeah, 100%. What was interesting about tonight, and I think it'll be kind of the same for the 500 in some respects. Obviously, the race is longer. There's a lot more fuel mileage going on, fuel mileage savings. Tonight, what made things really difficult is, one, we didn't have the raw speed. Two, I couldn't just lay back, because if I laid back, we could have lost the draft because we don't have the raw speed. So I was forced to stay with the pack. So I really didn't have an option. But even when I wanted to go, there really wasn't the option to go, because the guys that were around the guys that I had to compete with, their teammates and all those things, I mean, they can just lift and kind of stall the whole pack, and you literally can't get a run, So, I think it's, I just can't believe we're sitting here right now. I mean, everything was completely stacked against us from top to bottom. Even the scenarios in the race, if everything would have played out the way that everybody wanted to do their job, there's no way that we would have been where we're at right now. And thank God we were just right place, right time, and didn't damage the car too much, and we were able to get it home. And it's just I don't know. I keep saying I can't believe we're here, but I don't even feel like I should be in this room right now. You know, it feels good to be here. I haven't been here in a while.
All right, we're gonna go Jenna and then Zach.
Jennifer, AP, Casey, I know how important this 500 number is for you. I heard you say on TV, hello to Trish and the kids back home. I imagine they're part of this journey with you. Will you now bring them here for Sunday so they can see you racing the 500?
Yeah, so my wife, my daughter has a cheer tournament in Las Vegas this weekend. And so my wife and my son, they have flights going to Vegas and they have flights going to Orlando tomorrow. And depending on how this worked out was going to depend on where they were going to be. So couldn't be more happier that they're taking that flight to Orlando. And gosh dang, man, I get choked up. It means a lot. But I think a lot of people don't really know and understand, you know, what the wife and kids do, you know. Shoot, I can't even talk. It's not a championship speech. But they, you know, really they do. I mean, Trish has been right there with me. The kids, I mean, they're going nuts right now. I can't wait to talk to them, you know. So got my buddy Donald over here too. Donald was my motorhome driver for 10 years, so good to see you, buddy. Yeah, no, it just means a lot, you know, for sure now, and especially now. You know, I mean, my kids were younger when I was racing, and you know, even before I started doing this last year, I'd ask my son about, hey, do you remember this or that? And he didn't remember. He was young, you know. So to come back and do it now at my kids' the age they're at, and see how they get it now, they understand what Dad did for a living is cool. How old are your kids? My daughter Samantha is 17, and Hayden is 14. My son. Yep.
So Samantha's not.
She can't make it. Yeah, she's gosh dang. If you tell the cheer coach that she's not going to make it this weekend, I think you wouldn't find me around. Yeah, it's one of those deals where, you know, one thing I've learned about cheer, it's not like baseball or football where if you're not there, you know, they just put somebody else in. I mean, it's crucial. So it's going to be sad to miss her here this weekend, but hopefully she'll go win a race and I'll have a darn good one.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com. This is your first Daytona 500 since 2019. How much has changed between then and now?
You know, a lot of the same things apply. You know, getting to pit road's more difficult. But, you know, the biggest difference that I notice is really the fuel savings that goes on. You know, when I did the race back here in the summer and Talladega, just the way the races ran and all the fuel savings that goes on. I mean, really, it's just the nature of the sport and the rules and everything where they are right now, and everybody's taking advantage of that. But that's just a little bit odd. You know, we were usually conservative through the middle part of the race. The race is so long, you don't want to do anything crazy. But it was really odd to be saving so much fuel and, you know, everybody managing the lines and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was a lot different. But the one thing I did notice is, you know, towards the end of the race when, you know, 25, 30 laps to go, when everybody really starts going, it feels a lot like the old days. You know, those everybody starts going, you can really go. The middle lane doesn't work quite as well as it used to. You know, I used to really be able to get up in the middle and make some things happen if you wanted to. For some reason with this car and the aerodynamics it doesn't seem to work as well. But outside of that, I feel like a lot of it is pretty similar.
And by my count, this is start number 495 for you. That'll be Sunday. Where else will we see you next with 500 in mind?
Well, I think that with you know, I mean, it's no secret. Like I said, Carl and those guys do a great job. But I mean, the shop's not much bigger than this room, right? You know, we got a few guys, and so our chances of having good results are probably more at the super speedways. So I'm targeting those, potentially some road courses, some places where there's some, you know, variables. You know, a road course, I feel like I can manipulate things and do some stuff to maybe get a good result. So just kind of trying to hedge our bet towards, you know, getting the best finishes we possibly can.
All right. I believe Claire had a question here in the middle.
What do you think, Donald?
Claire B. Lang, Dialed In Journal. How many friends do you have? You're so popular in the garage because you haven't, you know, rocked against a lot of people and everybody's pulling for you a little bit, unless they were going for your spot. But how many friends do you think you have to race this race?
Well, I lost one in Noah Gregson because I took him out coming to pit road. No, outside of that, you know, that's one thing I am proud of. You know, I think over the course of my career, it's really fun to come back through the garage and just see all the old faces and made a lot of good relationships over the years. So, You know, I think those relationships on track you earn. And, you know, the 500 is a long race. And really what I plan to do there is just, you know, be a good pusher, hopefully be a guy that's not out of control, you know, show guys that we have something that we can do something with at the end. And I think you kind of build those racing relationships with those guys or rebuild those. There's a lot of young guys that I haven't really raced with a whole lot, right? So I'm trying to show those guys as well that I'm not some crazy old guy that doesn't know what he's doing. You know, I think that that's kind of how you do it. But as far as friendships in the garage, you're right. I've just, you know, there's so many good friends here that have been family for years. You know, I look at some of you guys in the, you know, here in the media center, you know, so.
So if you
I'm like a girl, man. I'm
could,
crying
if you
looking
could, if you could pick any place to be in the final laps of the Daytona 500, your preference. Some people say the middle. Some don't like to be in the front. Some like to be the front lead car. Others like to be pushing at the time. What would it be? What would your preference be? And then can anyone win the Daytona 500?
Of course. I think we've seen that in the past. You know, I mean, I think if you're in the show, you have a shot. And, you know, it changes based on the packages and aero differences over the years. You know, one rule of thumb I always had was, you know, in the middle or towards the beginning of the race, I would always kind of try to stay more towards the bottom of the middle. That way, if something happened, you could at least go to the grass. You can go to pit road. You have an escape route, right? If you're up top, you're stuck, and it just kind of comes to you. A lot of times at the end, it's not maybe the winning area to be, but there was times where I just kind of would stay high because I knew if I'm sitting like 15th and I got a big run and I'm coming off a 4 and I get up against the fence and I hold the gas wide open, when everybody crashes, I can just plow through guys and get a better result. But yeah, it just depends on the year and the feel. Depends on the temperature of, you know, everybody's brains at the moment and how chaotic they are, you know, and a lot of times you just have to pick a lane that you think there's somebody that you can push or work with, you know, or may work with you. Or if you see a guy that moves behind you that's worked with you throughout the race, you might just pull up in front of him and just try to keep that going, even if it might not be the best lane choice at the time. You know, you just got to weigh out what is your best result right there at the last lap. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Any final questions for Casey? All right, Casey, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you in the Daytona 500.
I appreciate it. Good to see you guys again.